All right, it says we're live. Good morning, everybody. My name is Shay. It is a Friday. There has been some coffee. They may yet be more coffee, which is very exciting. Having kind of a slow and lazy morning over here, which has been really, really nice. I hope that you're having equally delightful mornings where you are. And yeah, I'm not really sure what all I want to be working on yet this morning, so I figure we'll start with a little bit more work on this map. And then maybe once everybody's kind of gathered, we'll progress onto some world building or something like that. We'll find out. See how it goes. Hi, Dennis. How are you? Hey, Patrick. Good morning, guys. Oh, I forgot to post to Facebook that I was going to live stream this morning. Oops. Well, hopefully people find me. And then there was a Michael. Awesome. Still out in the field. No volume. All right. I'm going to type a quick message to Dennis then. Michael, I'm really glad to know that it's you. I've been like splitting my brain to make the connection between your work name and you, and I was just like this morning, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. So at the very least, your goof this morning has imprinted that in my brain, so thank you. I'm grateful. Where's my paper? And then there was a John. Hello, Violet. Hello, Lily. I hope you guys are having a good morning. Oh, I don't think I'm 7 layers of awesome, but I appreciate that you said that. So how's everyone this morning? I wasn't really sure what all to work on today. Kind of feel like doing some world building, but wanted to like touch base with the group before I made that decision. Figured I could just doodle on this for a little while before we made that call. This would go better if I would turn it upside down, I'm pretty sure. What house rules does everyone use for their game? So one of my versions of a house rule is we play D&D 5e, so there's the advantage and disadvantage system. If you roll the exact same number on your advantage or your disadvantage, so like say you roll 2 18s or 2 1s or whatever, something cool happens. And if it's like high numbers, it's something good. If it's low numbers, it's something not so good. If it's like double 20s, then it's super fucking awesome. If it's, sorry, shouldn't be swearing. If it's not double 20s, then like if it's double ones, then it's something pretty catastrophic. I find that kind of adds an interesting element to the game, in an unpredictability kind of way. I use what is it called now? Let me just Google it. I'll find the link and put it in the chat. D10,000 Chaos Burst chart. The Net Librum Random Magical Effects chart from the Purdue Fantasy Club. To kind of balance that. So sometimes that takes a little bit of like finessing. I'll pick a page and then roll a D100. And then if it's good, use that. If it's not good, I'll adjust until I get something that I like just generally scan the page and come up with something that I think fits or feels like a good fit. I also house rule that if you're rolling hit points and you roll a 1, you get to re-roll. Because I feel like leveling up by 1 hit point really sucks. So that's another one of my home rules. In the game that we're playing with Charles and Lisa, though, the Halcyon campaign, the primary game, we've got a lot of home rules about how magic works. Because I personally find the divide between classes kind of strange. And so, like, we've said this to Lisa a few times, like, she plays a sorcerer and it's just broken. Like, nobody who plays 5e would ever want to, like, they might want to play in my game, but like she will be spoiled for every other table that she goes to because she's not forced to choose off just the sorcerer spell list. Stuff like that is a lot more flexible in my world because I think that magic manifests differently. It creates a lot of requirement to be flexible with the rules, in terms of like spell components and stuff like that, but we get a lot of flavor and I kind of dig that. We play primarily for the narrative though, and so that is far more important. So like if it's got to serve the story. If it don't serve the story, there is just no point. So yeah, that's a pretty big deal for me. For us, we're, as Charles puts it, we're story whores. I kind of want it on a t-shirt, not gonna lie, except that I'd never be able to wear it in public because people would get so offended, which is fine. People are allowed to be offended, like, about using that word in a unrefined, ununderstandable context. Yeah, it's absolutely uncomfortable but necessary. So I'm 100% in with that. 100%. I play Cyberpunk 2020, so I have several house rules, including a complete rework of the way the virtual internet works. Oh, that would be interesting. I don't know that system at all, Patrick. How do you feel about the recent Wizard of the Coast announcement regarding races? I haven't read it yet. I don't know. Yeah, Michael, I agree with you completely. And I think that those are different things. Let me just have a look at this statement. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. I am honestly super excited to see that. Um, I think it's been a long time coming. I think that, especially with the popularity of Critical Role and the second campaign with Matt Mercer showing the Drow as a sympathetic race, race again, complicated word. Going to use it because it's what I know, but I think we need a different. Let's go with culture. Let's go with culture. It's it changes things. Like, I've never played alignment. That is something that I don't do. I think alignment is reductive and honestly really stupid, especially because I play a morally gray game. I don't believe that anything is inherently evil. So in my game, like an orc is not inherently evil, drow are not inherently evil. There are cultural tendencies, but I believe that is true of humans as well in our real world. You are socially indoctrinated into certain patterns of behavior. So I just, in some cases, adopt the patterns that have been recommended by D&D over time, but in other cases, I'm working to dismantle them quite heavily. Um, for example, we've talked about this in a previous stream. I have a real problem with the fact that the drow is like the one matriarchal race in D&D, and they're basically BDSM dominatrixes. I look at whoever created that and I go, who hurt you? Like, what woman in your life treated you so poorly that you basically need to represent this entire chaotic evil race as vicious monsters who are only out for pain? And the fact that it's like the only female matriarchal society is really problematic for me. I have kept some of that flavor in my home games, but I have a group of male drow who have left and like over time and from a whole bunch of different dens and have started creating their own society where they're working to dismantle the harmful outcomes of that. They've come together in what amounts to a floating circus. It's a lot like the Cirque du Soleil, for those of you who are familiar with that, called the Elan Fair. And they are literally like my version of what non-toxic masculinity looks like. They have like plans for supporting each other. They do absolutely everything they can to undo the harmful networks of power and discord that they have been trained to culturally. And it's a lot of work. And like we show them failing, we show them getting better. But it's something that's actively happening. And it's interesting to me because like one of the characters, Charles's character for that game, Kaiden, is half drow. He doesn't know who his father is. So there's that element of missing masculinity. But he has connected with the Elan Fair and is learning what it's like to be a drow man from them. And they have a very different version of what being a drow man looks like than what a drow who was raised in one of the dens and stayed in one of the dens would look like. So I'm working really hard to like subvert that expectation and make that less problematic. I find on the whole, I have a real problem with gender representation in classic D&D as well. That probably comes from being a non-binary person and getting like really offended by limitations to what I am allowed to do or perceived as being allowed to do by society because I'm supposed to be female. I just resent and reject that whole thing. I just refuse. So I try really hard to like dismantle that in my game as well. I think that's really, really important. I'm probably not 100% great at it, but I'm definitely like making conscious efforts toward it. I think like old school D&D where there used to be like strength penalties to playing a female character is just BS. For a heroic system where you can cast magic and stuff like that, I don't think you should be dealing with penalties like that. It doesn't make sense for the game. Even though there is some element of biological determinism with this. I think that, I mean, it's a fantasy game. So why not have everybody equal in the power? Because that makes sense to me. Yeah, anyway, I got opinions about this, you guys. Like, this is a soapbox I can wax on for quite a while. I love the game. I understand the game is hugely problematic, and it comes out of a lot of power differentials and a lot of racist tropes and a lot of currently, like, acceptable behaviors. And I'm happy to have seen the shift in the culture from 2E to 5E. I used to play 2E. I played 3.5 for a while, and I've been playing 5 for a couple of years now, and I never felt comfortable at the table until 5E. There was, I think, also just generationally had a lot to do with the kind of players that were playing. I found it was really a boys' club when I was playing 2E and 3.5, that most of the players that I knew were men. There was no non-binary or trans people at my tables at that point. I just didn't know how to find those people to play with. And the game style is really, really different when you don't have um, people who aren't straight white boys at the table. Like I realize I'm broad brushing it here, but the old school gamer stereotype, because D&D evolved as a war game, it was way more combat focused. It was way more like video game in terms of we're just going to go out and hack and slash and kill things. And I'm like, but what about diplomacy? Like, I'm a person who believes in diplomacy. What about this thing? And I was never getting the kind of play and the role playing side of it that I wanted. I really found role playing was not something that happened a lot of in the earlier editions with the parties that I was playing with. Probably was for other people, was not present for where I was. And that's for me where the point of the game is. I don't care nearly as much about the combat. Combat is a spice. I care about the story. So for me, in order to have the best story, you need cultural nuances, you need gender nuances, you need sexuality nuances, you need to have all of those things in a great big giant stew and be willing to play them out so that your characters are as fully fleshed humans as they can possibly be. Humans, I'm using that as a broad term, but people. So yeah, like, oh, guys, I have opinions. I'm sorry, that's quite the rant. But I have opinions. I think the game can be better. I'm happy to see Wizards of the Coast taking steps to make the game better. I think that there's more work to be done. I'm happy to read that they are going to be re-releasing books and taking on some sensitivity consultants about how to deal with the Vistani more sensitively, because they definitely have like vestiges of the Roma. And I mean, culturally, that's just not a great idea. I get the romancing of the Roma, but it's not fair to romance them without acknowledging what they've gone through as a culture. So I'm hoping that this goes well. I really am. I would like to see the game brought into a place where it's inclusive and loving and all of those other things. Because I think you can have inclusive and loving D&D. I absolutely do. I don't think it has to be present in all things. Like Vecna should not become loving. Like, let's be real about that. But I think in terms of the meta, the way the game is shaped, the way the game is presented, I think there are absolutely ways to do that. And having more people of color and more queer folk and more underrepresented minorities in the production process will absolutely make that possible. So, yeah. Yeah, D&D absolutely has undergone a revolution. Something that tried to emulate history as we knew it to life as we want it. Absolutely. That is really lucky, Patrick. It really is. Like, Dave and I are on pretty opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to D&D. Like, he's an old school AD&D player, doesn't care about story, doesn't care about NPC backstories, like, just wants to go out and hex crawl, defeat things, find the loot, do all of that. And I understand the appeal of that game some of the time. But I'm absolutely somebody who's driven by story. So too much hex crawling, too much combat, I'm bored. Like, I absolutely am the person who fast forwards through entire sections of the Lord of the Rings movies because it's just combat. And I'm like, okay, whatever, they hit each other. Like, I'm done with this. So when he runs 5e for us, it can be challenging for me to like stay tuned in because it's just too much combat for me. 2e is like practically impossible because it's so much combat and it's a lot of math, and I'm not like great at math. But I think like 5e has more opportunities if you have a DM that's willing to play to them. You don't necessarily, then it's going to change things, right? But that's true of any edition, any game. Do I ever tie specific norms to specific cultures, everything and everything? I do tend to do trends. And because I find culturally there are those kinds of trends. But there's always that element of a little bit of everything and a little bit of everything. Because humans are like that. We are just giant magpies in terms of cultural norms. So I find that not allowing for exceptions to the rules, I guess, is one way of phrasing it, makes you have a less nuanced representation of cultures. It's a good way to describe it. Um, it's one of those things, like, I have a cultural anthropology background, and I have a master's degree in religious studies. So I have studied human culture for a very, very long time. I'm academically trained in those areas, and I was trained in a discipline that was critical and postmodern. So we did a lot of dissection and a lot of figuring out, not necessarily why things work, but how they work. Um, and so things like law, like gender, um, like just various other lenses that we see the world through. I find when I'm building cultures, I take one of those and I tweak it. So, like, what happens if the culture is a gerontocracy and only the elders have the right to rule? How does that affect things like, what warfare looks like, what childcare looks like, what does divorce look like in those situations? What happens if marriage is not a value? How do you handle those kinds of things? What happens if thievery is considered a violation of personal sanctity, um, on every level? What's the worst possible capital crime in a society, and how does that change things? And I love those kinds of questions. I love reimagining societies based on those kinds of questions, and that's really like the root of my world building. Um, is just taking the opportunity to be like, what if this looked different? Which honestly, like, it's kind of, I didn't invent that by any means. Like, that is the root of speculative fiction. Is what if we change these one or two things? How does that change everything else in like a butterfly effect? But that is absolutely where I come from when I world build. Even when I'm doing NPCs or doing like cultures in the thing, we did a whole bunch of NPC building for the noble houses of Havalis in the last couple of weeks. And we had, what did we develop, you guys? Like 9 noble houses, and they all had their own distinct representatives. And so we went into the backstories of some of these representatives. How did they feel about the law? How did they feel about ruling? How long have they been in the position of power? How did they come to be in those positions of power? If other people had an influence on how they came into it, what was their influence and what is their background? And we kind of like Patricia Russian dolled all the way back to a reasonable amount, so that I have this complex understanding of how things work in that society. And that was just like 9 noble houses in a city of like the population of 1 million kind of thing. So, I mean, I love that thing. I love it so much. That's, for me, this is like where the joy is, and where the fun of it all is just having the ability to imagine, like, literally, what does this look like if it looks different? Sorry, again with the ranting. I guess I didn't talk lots yesterday, so apparently I wanna talk lots today. Sorry, friends. Okay, I won't apologize too much then. It's a little bit strange to, like, talk a lot, because I don't think I have all the answers by any means, and I don't wanna, like, come across as if I think I do. Um, but I have opinions, that much I can tell you. It is my stream. I mean, I get that. I just also wanna make sure that, like I said, I'm not presenting myself as the person with all the answers, like, that's disingenuous and not fair. Um, but, like, I definitely do have opinions about all kinds of things. I think I'm just about getting to a point where I'm gonna call this done, you guys. Pretty close. Read cultures. Do you divide them by ethnicity or nationality in your game? Understanding that the world is a spectrum and not a game. For sure. I do still use nations and I do still use ethnicities. I find keeping both of those concepts incredibly powerful because one of the ways that humans organize themselves is the primary division between us and them. And so, in order to have tension, which is the fuel that drives a game, you have to have those things that give you motion, give you tension. And the easiest division is us versus them. In D&D, we see that as like ourselves versus monsters. We see it as heroes versus villains. We see it as nature versus civilization is a theme that I really like and play with quite a bit. Um, and you see where those divisions come into play. One of the easiest and fastest ways to set it up is a national or ethnic divergence. What happens when you get minority populations in the city? What kind of pressures do they face? How do they deal with that? What happens when you have war? What does war look like? In the Halcyon setting, I've started writing a novel, and the city of Invictus is a colony of the Kayan Empire, and they have been mistreated by their empire. They've been neglected. There's been a lot of push for taxes and not a lot of push for keeping them. Thank you, honey. You are the best.
Love you.
Love you too. More coffee for me. Not a lot of push for keeping them secure or well governed. And so the colony is considering seeding. And so what happens when you have a group like, and I've been studying like the revolution in the States and in Paris and in London in 1776 to kind of get an idea of what these situations look like. But what kind of cultural differences are there between a colony and its colonizer at a point where that colony is ready to seed? Like, what has changed? And sometimes those changes are really subtle, but they're enough to drive a new identity. And so it's not like it has to be this giant, we babies, but we worship the God of the light kind of division on either side of that thing. Sometimes it's just, we need more space to live and we don't want to keep paying you the only coin we have in taxes and postage, which is true of what was going on in the States in 1776. I mean, there was a lot of other factors in there, don't get me wrong, but one of the biggest things was they were physically running out of money because the mint was not authorized to print more in terms of the coinage. And Britain was demanding all of these coins in tax revenue. And so it was causing like one very specific kind of pressure that ended up leading to a bunch of protests. Like I said, it's way more nuanced than that, but that's one tiny stick on the camel's back. But like in the Invictus setting, like what is the result of that afterwards? Does it change how they deal with racism? Does it change how they deal with trade? Does it change how they deal with ecological resource management? Because that's a big theme in some of my games as well. In the Gatto game, there is a huge minority population called the Nye. And Charles's character, who's half drow, his mother, the human part of this equation, is Nye. And so what is it like to grow up in a large identified minority? Where things are very peaceful and Gatto is really open and multicultural and cosmopolitan, but you're still a minority? What does that look like? What kind of traditions and pathways and stuff sets you apart from the majority? Are they things that you're proud of? Are they things that you're not proud of? And like I do a lot of reading on race and belonging and ethnicity and different aspects of that in terms of anthropological reading and social commentary reading to try and bring verisimilitude to that in the game. He has different preferences for foods. He has different preferences for ways to eat. And just trying to break it down into those little things because those little things give you flavor, right? Like we had a parade that they were just at, and he didn't care about certain aspects of the parade, but other aspects of it, he was like, yes, this is wonderful. Like this reminds me of home. This reminds me of my family. Um, One of the things for the Nye is that culturally they believe that the only magic that's good magic is divine magic. And so he's a warlock. And he came into his power during a period of battle where his cousin was going to die unless he and a patron reached out and said, like, I will give you the power to save your cousin, but you will need to serve me for a period of time. And he accepted because he was desperate to save his cousin. Well, he saved his cousin, and it was a great victory. But he's taken on this power that is considered unclean by the rest of his people. And so there's tension there between like, I did the right thing and I did it for you, but now you're punishing me for doing this thing. And then he has to like look at it and go, did I do the right thing? Because I did accept this power that is considered unclean and inappropriate by my people. And like those kinds of questions and tensions are there. And I think they're really interesting. I love the context of them, and I love being able to manipulate them and play with them. And yeah, it's my jam, you guys. It's totally my jam. Hopefully that answers your question, Michael. Again with the long rant. Coffee. Coffee, 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 coffee. That's the kind of RP that you love, John? Yeah. You prefer the highly developed role-playing sessions, although not the politics sometimes. That's fair. When you say politics, what do you mean by politics? Because, like, I'm very firmly of the opinion that everything is political. The body is political, the way you exist in society is political, money is political. Like, I don't think you get out of politics at all because politics are the rules for how people interact with each other. So I'm super curious to know how you're using that word, Laura, just out of like just general curiosity, no judgment, just wondering. Do you mean like, "Oh my god, we have to go talk to the king, we have to negotiate," stuff like that? We have to, like, work factions off of each other, that kinda stuff? I think it's important to investigate the way that we use those words because, Matt Colville, I don't know if you guys know Matt Colville, he's a YouTuber and, like, a very successful businessman. He ran a Kickstarter for a D&D supplement that did, like, crazy good money. Like, honestly, he just wasn't expecting it was something like $2.3 million or something like that. He runs a D&D series on YouTube called Running the Game, and it's designed for new dungeon masters who are just getting into running Dungeons& and Dragons to give advice and perspective on certain aspects of running the game. And, I find it very useful as someone who is a new DM. And also, like, he's very insightful and talks and thinks in a way that I can really relate to, which I find helpful. I had a point with this. What was my point? Um, oh yeah, he when he starts his games, kind of hands out like a little bit of a questionnaire to his players at the beginning that have like little slider bars on it. And it's like if you want how much politics do you want in a game? You know, between 1 and 10. If you mark off a 7, then he has an idea that you're more interested in a political game than a non-political game. And how much romance do you want? And how much fighting do you want? And how much like random encounters do you want? Like, and just that he knows that then he can start tailoring the game that he's going to build to the players that actually want to play it. And I find that really interesting, but I think it's only useful so long as like your players understand what you mean by politics. Um, because you and I may use those words completely differently. And a WebDM, another YouTube web group that I listen to their videos on a very regular basis, has like a great one on romance and like why there should be romance in a D&D game and how to handle it appropriately and stuff like that. And I think like that's a great lever to be able to use with characters or not, or like NPCs around the characters because that reflects real life. So stuff like that I think is important. We rely a lot on the question, "Do you know what I mean?" And we think we do because we share a lot of syntax and stuff like that, but what you know and what you mean is always informed by your personal context. And personal context can be so incredibly varied. And we are particular about how we share information and who we share that information with. So somebody else may not understand that, like, you know, you grew up as a child in a war-torn country. One of my best friends is from Bosnia. And if you didn't know, you would assume that she had lived in Canada her whole life. But if you know, then you're like, okay, this tiny little behavior tick makes a lot of sense. Like, and I know to be more careful when I'm having certain conversations around her. Not that I like ever censor myself, but I know how to handle certain things in a way that's going to be sensitive and relevant because she has a different set of experiences with that kind of stuff than I do. And so like it's not a devil's advocate position for her. It's much more real and it's much more visceral. And I think like you need to know that kind of stuff, whether that's to do with eating disorders or childhood abuse or neglect or mistreatment or whatever. Like you don't know what somebody else is going through. So asking, what does politics mean to you? What does harm mean to you? That was a question I actually got asked during my thesis defense for my master's by my external advisor. He was like, you know, you go on at length in your dissertation about like the harms to society, but you never actually explicitly discuss what you think those harms are. And he's like, I wish that you had spent some time like actually conceptualizing what harm looks like to you. And I was like, that is a critique that is absolutely 100% fair. And it was so obvious to me that I knew what I was talking about that it didn't occur to me that it wouldn't be obvious to my audience. So, like, that is an example that is, like, super potent for me in that I always try to keep it in mind now. Big time, big time. All right. I think we're just about getting to the point where we're done with this, you guys. Although I don't know what's going on in this area. I do not know. Hmm. You find playing the Game of Thrones all the time very boring. I'm assuming you mean GOT to, like, mean Game of Thrones and not, like, the Greater Order of Toronto or something like that. Um, yeah, I'm not wild about it myself, honestly, because I'm lazy as a DM. I guess I wouldn't say that I'm lazy, but I'm not good at politics, so trying to come up with high-level politics all the time to do is difficult for me. And it just requires so much work to have it be fully integrated into your system and know that overarching everything for your setting. Like, it's just complicated and I'm not good at it. So doing a lot of it is exhausting. And probably boring if it's not like super relevant or interesting to your characters. The game that I'm playing in Gato with Charles, where he's playing Kaiden, is very, very political, like intensely political. Kaiden is kind of a Batman figure, and it has a deep love of the city of Havalis and the country, nation state of Gato, and just really wants to take care of it. And because he's coming into his power as a warlock, he's starting to use that power to take a hand in like the actual security of the city. And it's interesting to play that game because I know a lot about the city, but I don't know everything about the city. And so there's a really interesting blend of like deliberately world building for it and then like just, oh well, we need a villain here, or we need a guard here, or we need an institution here. Blah, improvise and then have to like work it in through the improvisation, which I mean that's pretty standard in a D&D game. You go from knowing to not knowing and back again on a pretty regular basis. I think that's one of the reasons I love it though, is that yeah, that balance between improvisation and planning. Meeting NPCs, yeah, I get that completely. I like NPCs. They let me play the game. It's a little bit selfish, but it's true. All right, I think I'm done with this for now. I'm gonna put this away for the moment. Oh, that's the back of the pad, not the front of the pad. Yes, my chopsticks are in my binder. It's because I need them to eat at Charles's place when I go. Let's work on this Feywild random encounter chart because I think that they might be going there this week. Actually, let's check the summary and see if that's where they're going this week. Oh yeah, did I tell you guys I filled my notebook? It's full. We did the thing. Oh yeah, I guess I should show you. So I took some of Patrick's advice and split this out into multiple notebooks. So I think I need a notebook just for world building, which I haven't done yet. But this is the notebook for Wink for her solo games. This is the notebook for Daria for her solo games. This is the notebook for Kaiden for his solo games. And this is the notebook for the main campaign for Halcyon. And so I guess I need a notebook for world building. What do I have on me that will suffice for that? I just had a coil ring book. What do I do with it? I did, I swear. There it is. Let's use this for world building. Hello there, Marla. How are you? All right, so I think I might even have the first session in the new book. Yep. That sounds absolutely brilliant, Marla. I'm glad you took your opportunity to nest to join us. All right, we are like basically officially out of ink refills for the pen. So I need to order more. That is a thing. All right. So yeah. You rejoined your explorations of the Temple of the Wild Mother in Carvis last session, descending from the upper floor into the spacious main level of the building. As you progressed through the space, you saw evidence of looting and destruction of goods, although there is surprisingly minimal damage to the shrine itself. Examining a classroom, you encountered your first Slad, a heinous creature with red skin, hunched body, bulging eyes, and razor grins. You engaged it in combat and successfully defeated them, but not before one managed to bite Arcus, injecting a foreign body into his. You spent a few precious moments determining you had the ability to solve that problem before saving the solution for later and venturing forward once again. Your expectations of further combat were met in the form of a hulking blue Slad who was occupying what appeared to be the primary worship space of the temple. It took teamwork to deal enough damage to defeat it, but you managed to avoid any close calls long enough to succeed. Your fight with the blue Slad raised enough ruckus that things trapped in nearby rooms began pounding to get out. You elected to clear those threats before thoroughly searching the worship space. Opening the first door, you encountered two giant scorpions. Arcus killed one with some fancy blade work, while Daria killed the other with a very effective ball lightning spell. Opening the next door revealed a green Slad that both of you and the ball lightning took out with minimal injury to yourselves. Rooms ostensibly clear, you return to the dais in front of the altar and searched it. You discover a hidden drawer containing an enthame, a wand, and a chalice. We rejoin the adventure here with curiosity about these items and the rest of the complex to explore. What do you wish to do? So that was the summary that I read at the beginning of last game, before they finished the dungeon crawl through this temple. So I'll have another one of those to write, which I will do off camera because it can be a little bit boring to watch. But I think from here they finished the temple crawl and they teleported away. Oh yeah, I demanded end zone dances for crits or attacks on attacks or wild magic because that was apparently something I did. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Michael, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just seeing your comment here. I can't remember if I replied to it or not. But yeah, I would love to collaborate. I think that'd be fun. Dennis, who is on, I believe, not listening, but has his video rolling to support the views, would also like to collaborate. So I think that could be a lot of fun. It would be neat to like start a world anvil with a bunch of people and all of us contribute to it or something. So, all right, let's do some Feywild planning because I think that they're going to go back to the towers. What is today? June 19th. How is it June 19th already? Yeah, some of mine too. Yeah, Marla, I hear you. I was just like, when did this even happen? I mean, time has no meaning in the midst of this coronavirus thing at the best of times, but having Dave home is actually making it even stranger because, like, he's just never home this much. Normally, my pattern of days gets set by him going to work and having his weekends off. So it's really surreal to just be existing in this span of days that has no real rhythm. So, all right. So we know that they are coming out in light forest and that they need to go through heavy forest to get to the mountains. So all right. Oh my goodness, you guys, there's 8 of us on the stream. I think that's my record. How cool is that? Neat. All right, so I had written out we should probably pull out that book in case we need to be looking up creatures. What did I do with that book? Right there. Okay, cool. Need more space on my desk because I always need more space on my desk. I tell you guys that Dave bought me a whole bunch of beautiful hardwood for Christmas. It hasn't arrived yet, but it's called Babinga. And he bought me some when we first started dating with the intention of making a table out of it that would fit over my deep freeze so I would have additional counter space in my very tiny apartment. And then I ended up moving in with him and did not need that anymore. So we kept the wood. He ordered more and he's going to build me a new desk. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so very excited. I don't know how soon we'll be able to do it, but I'm looking up like plans and kind of designing what I want. And it's just like, Super excited. So yeah, I'm like really looking forward to having a new desk whenever we get that far. Um, I'm somebody that like likes to have everything I need within arm's reach, so it's important to like have all the nooks and all the crannies and put all the stuff in all the places. Um, so let's have a look here. When in a year I have 20 watches, I can go back and go, wow, I had only 8. That's true. I've had a couple of requests to switch to Twitch. Um, and there's some evidence to suggest that I would have a higher viewership if I were on Twitch. Apparently, like YouTube is going the way of the dodo kind of thing in terms of streaming. I have some anxiety about going to Twitch. Because like I don't understand the platform and I'm not a technologically advanced person. So I would need to put in a lot more time and effort into making that easy. YouTube is easy, especially now. It's much, much simpler than it used to be. And that's partly the appeal for me, is that it's not complicated. So I don't know. I think it's all good. So yeah. So yeah, okay. Yeah, like I think it is a struggle, really. We're drinking different coffee than usual this morning. This is a bag that my friend Myrna gave me for my birthday, and it's a much darker roast than what we normally drink. I really love it. Dave does not love dark roast coffee, which is kind of a shame, but I'm really enjoying it. So I think one of the things I need to figure out is how big is my map between where they are and where they need to go. You're on both. Do you have a preference, Marla? Like I really only watch Kafir on Twitch. Kafir is amazing, and if you guys are not like watching him, you should be. It's totally fabulous. How prevalent are the teleports? They are not super common. I would say there's probably no more than one per 100 miles kind of thing. Does the map of the Feywild adhere to scale? No, not necessarily. But I think I need something that is a little bit more structured than that, just to be able to help myself run things. What I was thinking of, where is my other binder, is I have access to Hexographer. And so I was thinking of generating a procedural map like this for where I wanted to go, and just using this because each of these hexes is labeled, and then I can create a key like I've done here that has what's in each of those hexes, which is a lot of like work up front for sure. But then my planning is basically handled and everything is taken care of. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking of just for organizing myself. Um, thought that that might make life a little bit easier for me. I am interested in some of the D&D groups if you want to point me in those directions, because I could use more nice people in my life. Um, yeah, that's part of the concern that I have. Like right now, my viewership is small and you all know each other and all like each other. And so far at least. Um, and so moderators aren't a necessary thing. I think that that could get a little hairy depending on if a lot more people show up. So yeah, I think a modular map is a great idea with the illustration instead of cartography. Um, I just need to like do that and figure it out. Um, I was thinking of something like my Mad Map March. Yeah, that's the right acronym. Mad Map March map from 2 years ago that has a really heavy illustration component. Let me see if I can grab this map. It's okay, Saxon, I'm not getting up. Oh, giant book, come here. I hope it's in here. Yeah, this one. So something more like this, where it's patches of stuff kind of put together and kind of all together. I don't have this all on camera. Sorry, guys. So I can show you this edge. So it's not an atlas yet. It is literally just a portfolio of stuff that I have to store somewhere or it's all going to get damaged. So that's my sole purpose in having it all together. I get some satisfaction out of going through it though, and like being able to flip through things and being like, yeah, I did that. So yeah, I do. I have some fun with that. So yeah, I'm thinking a map kind of in this style would be good. I don't like how unfinished this looks. Like it does not look very professional to me at all. But it's evocative. And I think that that's super important. This is really interesting for me to look back on because I did this with student grade watercolors 2 years ago, and I have professional grade watercolors now, and I think it would just be a much more beautiful map in the higher quality paint. So excited about that. Think that'll be fun. It's a heavy binder though, because I've got a lot of unused sheet protectors in it. Thunk on the ground. Hi, Erin. How are you? The colored one with the dark blue ocean? Yeah, I'm in love with that ocean. Most of those are 11 by 17, Michael. I've got a couple that are 18 by something. I don't know if that's A3 or A4. I don't know those sizes well enough, but it's not a standard North American size. It's one of the European sizes. Because I've been trying to play with that format a little bit. I really love the dimensions of that. I just think the aspect ratio is really nice. So yeah, it's kind of fun. A3, yeah, that makes sense. Trying to work while watching. I'm pleased that you're trying to just hang out and do the art jam thing though. That's what this is for, is we're all just kind of hanging in to work. That's pretty great. Glad you're here. Welcome. My portfolio is filled with other people's line art. And you just color them. Yes, coloring is also a skill. Comic book artists have people that do just the colors and just the inks. A4 is standard printer size, so A3 is the slightly larger. Okay. Okay, cool. You're very welcome. Very, very welcome. All right, how much distance do we have between where they come out and Tessarian? How many days do we want them to travel? Should I roll a dice for this? If so, what dice? Which D12? Okay. Use these ones because I'm completely in love with them right now. Are there any encounters I have to have included? No, it's wide open right now. Completely wide open. I want it to be more than like 6 days though, so 7 days. Oh, Michael, that's genius. Oh, I like that because that definitely expands this idea of the elasticity of the Feywild. Oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. Okay, asterisks. Rule distance traveled in Feywild each session. And we'll play Feywild, play the journey to Tessarian for 7 sessions. And go D4 to D12. Per session. Okay, cool. I love that idea. That is super fun. One of the challenges that I anticipate having with this is that my players are very, very linear players in that they do an entire day. They get up, they have breakfast, they go about their business, they come back, they have dinner, they go about their business, they get ready for bed. Like things like, and I have a bath, absolutely get narrated, or at the very least mentioned, depending on how their days are going. There's no fast forward. There's no like, oh, we just journey until we hit something. So the elasticity of this might be challenging to represent, but I love the idea of it. I think that is so much fun. How am I going to represent this to? That's okay. I don't need to worry about that right now. Yeah, I dig that idea so much. So much. Oh, you saw my purple dice, Laura? Yeah, they're really pretty. They are Borealis. This one probably doesn't show up well on camera, but it's called a Dreamwalker dice. and it is just gorgeous in person. Love it a lot. I'm a little bit of a dice goblin. I happen to love them. I think they are great. Okay, so how much distance? 7 sessions. So I think we'll do the 2E movement rules. Light forest gives 4 encounters a day. Heavy forest gives 6 encounters a day. Mountains give 3 encounters a day. It's time for a montage. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. All right, so let us do some planning here. I feel like I need a map to be able to start planning this properly. Okay, well, let's just make a plan. We got some mountains. We got some hills. We need a river. Let us make this river. Let's have the river split. I know that that's not normally how it works, but it's the Feywild, so we're just going to go with it. All right. So, pencil crayons, where are you? All right, Marla. Have fun. Get lots done. It is a lot of encounters. This is a definite thing. Not all encounters have to be combat encounters. Okay. That will be heavy forest. That'll be light forest. I think it'd be funny if the mountains moved like big giants or elementals. I think it would be funny too, but I think that that might get frustrating. Don't you? We'll call that plains. Oops. Mark that down. Okay, yeah, so we can definitely have some Ents. So let's say in the heavy forest we have there's Ents and Vine Lords, Dryads, and Dragonleaf trees. That is not a bad idea, Michael, at all. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, let's put that in the heavy forest. So, I guess I should explain the way that the encounters work is you have an like X number of encounters in a day. So say you have 4 in a day, but you only get an encounter on a 1 or a 2. So like you take your D10, that's typically what I roll, and like the 9 is no encounter, the 4 is no encounter, the 6 is no encounter, and the 5 is no encounter. So that day you traverse the hex with no encounters. So that's sorry, Patrick. I realized that I didn't like explain that part very well. Things eating things without context, yeah, that could be fun. Kind of Alice in Wonderland-ish then, hey? Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit stuck. What is next? What is next? Certain death. Um, Maybe I'm approaching this wrong. Maybe what I need is a map that has a lot less straightforward land. Because, like, if this is the Feywild, potentially you could wander from the ocean to an oasis to, like, heavy mountains. One place to the next, right? Do we need encounters? Kind of. Like, I need a lot of non-combat encounters or, like, just funner stuff. I have the combat encounters, like, here. Just a second. I'm gonna pop open Hexographer here and generate a map and see what we can do with that. To see the change in terrain? Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, maybe let's do that. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Laura. Okay, let's come up with a theory here. Give me my box of stuff. Which box do I need? I actually don't need a box. I can just do this. Okay, so what is our metric? What dice are we using to generate the terrain? We are using 7, 8, 9. We're using a D10 to generate the terrain. So procedure. D10 to generate terrain. 1 is desert. 2 is light forest. 3 is heavy forest. 4 is oceans. 5 is mountains. 6 is plains. 7 is caves. 8 is swamps. 9 is winter. Winter or summer. No, it can't be winter, because that doesn't make sense. Where's my... It has to be just summer. Summer. And 10 is civilized. Okay. Oh, those ones make me crazy. Like, literally, I feel lost and confused and like I am not in possession of my right mind trying to solve one of those puzzles. They are not my favorite thing at all. Let's divide time of day to what? D4? One is morning. 2 is afternoon. 3 is evening. 4 is night. 'So let's test this. 3, heavy forest. In the evening. And then I need 2d10 to roll. For 13 is prismatic beetles. Yeah, maybe let's do that, because then I think that'll play better. Just especially with the style of play that my players have, where they just like to take their time with everything. Keeping the days consistent. Procedure. Number of days. Consistent. Terrain. And time change. Yeah, each lasting about 6 hours. I think that's how I want to look at it too. I want to randomly roll them because I think that'll really mess with their heads. Yeah. This is where I wish I was better at this stuff, because like a hex crawl, you have like a 6-mile hex, how many encounters per hex, blah, 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 blah. This is where I feel like a map in some ways would be better, just because then I can be like, you're going north. All right, you hit this. But the dice is, I love the idea of rolling more of my dice, so I just need to get comfortable with this. Okay, so let's come up with some more. Let's come up with some non-combat Feywild encounters that we can add to these because I feel like that would be good. Um, a timeline instead of a map. I think you might be right, Patrick. I'm just not sure how to populate a timeline with this without like planning every encounter they're going to have. Um, like I don't have any set plans for stuff that they have to encounter until Tessarian. So I'm not sure how to structure this in a way that's not completely random. Um, I think it's going to be 7 days. Let's agree to the 7 days because we said that already. So 7 days. Each day, roll to see what terrain they're in. Type of terrain determines number of encounters. Desert, let's say 2 encounters. What did we say for light forest? 4 encounters. Heavy forest was 6. Oceans we'll say is 4 or 5. Mountains was 3. Plains we'll say is 3. Caves we'll say is 2. Swamps we'll say is 3. Summer we'll say is 2. And civilized we'll say is 4. Maybe. Mary. Game of Chance, Goblin Merchant, Fairy Circle Dance, Poppy Field. Okay, so let's put the Poppy Fields in the plains. A mute animal with a talking watch. I kind of love that. Okay. A game of chance. It'd be neat to have an actual game to play in the game of chance. I can look that up. Something with exploding dice, maybe. A goblin merchant. What is he selling? A hookah smoking roach. Yes, very, very Alice. Eggs planning a raid against rabbits. I like that. Sad fairy, glad fairy, bad fairy. What do they want? Oh, no kidding, hey? Confused and frustrated. Cartographer. I like that. That's great. Seder bush party. A summer court. Veteran. Returning home. Hag selling apples. A fungal forest. With myconids. Hedge maze. Oh, interesting. That would imply that there's, like, a group of people that are in cahoots enough with the Summer Queen to organize an exchange like that, and I don't think that would be the case given her predilection for collecting foreign people. She just wants to have them all so she can examine them and be entertained by them, so I don't think that would work. I just realized I forgot to readjust my camera. Sorry, friends. Hmm. Oh, creature stuck to the ground by universal glue because they have some solvent, so, or not universal glue, sovereign glue. They can do that.
Sovereign glue should look eminently drinkable.
Yes, it should. You're not wrong. That was a very funny moment.
It was.
Fairies playing Calvin Ball. I love it. Um, hey, babe. Does Xanathar's have a chart for Feywild encounters?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll check.
Tiger as referee.
Did you take it back upstairs?
No, I did not. Oh, fun. I like that. A brush fire. A small pond with gemstone sand. With glass frogs. Oh, I like that, Patrick. That's good, Michael. I said Diamond Golem's working on building the wall around a future Fey estate. An area of rocky expanse with multicolored pools and multicolored Vado. Vado are a creature that look like a sea urchin that are made of crystal that had previously shown up in the game. So the no one else can see thing is interesting, Patrick, but I've got somebody who's got a gem of true seeing. So what is it if she decides she's going to bust that out? Okay, so someone trapped in a portal or an item trapped in a portal. His hand is empty? Okay. A sword with a bright red blade at the bottom of a pond. Oh, I like that. That's creepy and delightful. Pop goes the weasel. That's pretty good, my dears. Ring around the rosy. Oh, ring around the rosy, and then what if we all fall down and you drop into a cave? I like that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. All right, my dears, that's our 2-hour mark. Why don't we call it for today? Unless you don't want to. Could go either way. Kind of want to keep going and planning some stuff, but I don't know how it is. You're good for more? Okay. It might just be like kind of a general working session. You have an appointment at 2. Okay, well, do the thing, Patrick. I hope your appointment goes well. Thanks, Erin. You're gonna stay uncharted, Michael? Okay, cool. I'm just gonna go to the washroom really quick, you guys, and grab something else to drink. I will be right back. Give me like 3 minutes. It's okay, Saxon. Just getting up.
for, you know, what the community is for, finally done.
What is it?
Town redone.
Is it awesome?
I don't know. Sorry. That was just a case of, YouTube not being, yeah. And now we're gonna turn back up, we're gonna hear you.
Sorry, boss. All right, I'm back.
All right. Hmm. And we never saw them again. Yeah, no kidding. All right. Okay, brain, get back in order here. Good for your brain. Invoicing and financials, hey. Well, I mean, hey, work is work. Hooray for money. We will take it. Oh, that sucks. That can really mess things up with the customer too. Okay, how do I want to handle this? Maybe it needs to be 1d2 to determine if it's a combat or a non-combat counter. Okay. You get to be a forensic accountant. I know you wanted to do forensics, didn't think it was going to be forensic accounting. You will comply, brain. Indeed, indeed. Oh, another thing that they might encounter in the Feywild is Ramon. Tea Earl Grey hot again. Yes, absolutely. Because that's the way to do it. I am now drinking blueberry lemonade flavored water because I have finished my second cup of coffee for the day. And that is my limit. Let's create 4 civilized places that they could encounter. So that I have 4 civilized encounters, like different towns or like a tavern in the middle of the woods or something like that. Let's do that. Because I have a lot of prep done for uncivilized parts of things. So let's say one is a tavern in the woods. Let's say they're all taverns, just in different places. Tavern in the woods, tavern by the sea, tavern in the mountains, and a tavern in the desert. These are all a franchise. Run by who? It's not what disappointment tastes like. It's actually quite good. It's those Mio water drop things. I don't drink a lot of water, so I find having a little bit of flavoring in it makes a huge difference. A market, a bastion, a tavern. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that. A bastion's a good idea. So a tavern in the woods, a market by the sea. I don't need to cross that out. I have white out. A bastion in the mountains. A market by the sea, a bastion in the mountains, and an oasis in the desert. Maybe these are, no, they can't be run by humans. That doesn't make sense with the queen. Not doing this well. Oh, like a coffee shop. Okay, that's a really good one because my people are all into coffee. Okay, so let's go fold this in half to give us a nice page delineation. Fold this in half to give us page delineation. Okay, so tavern in the woods. Market by the Sea. Bastion. Coffee Bazaar in the desert. All right. So the Tavern in the Woods is run by Keebler Elves. Okay. The Market by the Sea is run by The Market by the Sea is only accessible underwater. Bottles of water breathing potion are on sale in a booth by the coast. $2 gold pieces per bottle. Market sells food, jewelry, weapons, fortunes, maps of ocean floor only, toys, and puzzles, and salvaged shipwreck items. Vendors. Mermaids. Kelpies. Outsourcing for Santa Claus in the mountains. Okay, cool. Mermaid. She'll be blonde with coral eyes. Wearing a gown of shredded net. Selling potted corals and seaweeds. has a crystal ball. On display. That shows the locations of other crystal balls in the network. Uses it to track sea storms. Another vendor. Taverns in these places are run by mortals because they anchor the real in the Feywild. Okay, I like that. So this guy will be the human owner of the market. His name will be what? Ovinko. Thank you, Russian. Plain looking with weather-beaten face. Wearing a gaudy pearl ring. Selling weapons. Has non-magical plus ability to. He's a wizard. He is a wizard. Okay, that'll be good if Arcus decides he wants to like follow up with that. Pure one. The crystal ball is called Noah. Okay, I like that. Bob Hoskins. So there's a dragon eel named Volchok, who's a fortune teller and rumor monger. I need 2 more rumors that the rumor monger might know. The first one is that the Summer Queen is looking for who came through the portal, because I need them to have that information. The second one, a female sells fine cuts of fresh caught land animals. Yeah, no, I'm totally into that. That's awesome. I'll put that in as soon as I'm done thinking of rumors. Bitter Kiss is in the middle plane. Brush fires are being set to destroy Ents. We're gonna make her a sea hag, you guys. Fine cuts of meat. Okay, that'll do us for the market by the sea. Let's talk about this tavern in the woods that's run by Keebler elves. Walrus and the Carpenter have escaped prison. Okay. Rumor. What's needed? Just flotsam and jetsam about it. What makes it special? What makes it memorable? What can the players get there, if anything? It's in the woods. Yep. I'm thinking like a Bavarian tavern. White plaster with beamwork and all of that typical kind of stereo high fantasy pseudo Middle Ages stuff. It's in the woods. Culinary Fae. Yeah, no kidding. I think all of the servers are dryads. Second rumor is the Bear King is considering a visit to the summer court. Third rumor. Is that the Lord of the Hunt? And the Moonlit King are the same person. The Toadstool Inn. I like that. Okay. Yeah. The food here isn't dangerous to mortals. The cook is a human. The place is frequented because human food is a novelty. Who's a Pinocchio analog? Nice. There is something called a tendril puppet in one of the creature codexes that I'm using. That kind of reminds me of that. Let's talk about some NPCs that could be hanging out in the Toadstool Inn. How many Keebler elves are there? Toad on a bar stool? Okay. Yes, food is good. This is true. Owners are Kess and Mal. Brother and sister. Gnomes. Kess is suspicious. Mal is sunny. Both are rural and don't like the big city. The cook is human. His name is Lev. Was from but fell through a portal and decided not to leave. Has extensive garden of human plants and spices. Hermes, the dental student. Cheapest meat on the menu is portal chops. Yeah, no kidding. There should be a portal nearby. Lev goes back for supplies regularly. Have fun, Michael. Thanks for hanging out. It was good to see you. Patrick, don't you need to get out of here? The bro and sis know the secret? Okay. Oh, they're coming. Okay, cool. I was worried you needed to travel, and I was like, oh no. No good, no good. All right. The Bastion in the Mountains. Yeah, maybe an NPC regular knows and is willing to show them for sure. All right. Bastion in the Mountains. The Bastion has a kitchen that will feed travelers if travelers ask. Okay. What's going on in the mountains? It's the Bastion of the Snow Queen. Rumors. The Snow Queen has sent an envoy to the Bear King to discuss an alliance. A Firebird has taken up residence in the mountains. And A constellation is missing. From the night sky. Okay, some NPCs here. Captain of the guard. Is a woman. Shala, okay. Shallow rhyme weaver. Stern. No nonsense. Wants people prepared to travel in mountains so she doesn't have to rescue them. Head of the kitchen. Nilo will be a non-binary person. Gregarious. Likes new faces because they don't get much company. And is the queen present? Yeah, she very well could be. Queen is present. For leverage at summer court. May capture adventurers to give them to the summer queen to gain favor. Unless the adventures amuse her somehow. Okay. All right, let's talk about this coffee bazaar in the desert. Did I ever show you like the best notebook for writing in columns ever? You'll appreciate this. You're a notebook person. This one. You can use it sideways. I think that's how it's intended to be, is sideways. But I use it in columns, and it is brilliant. Love it so much. Yeah, so good. Definitely want to buy another one of those. All right, coffee bazaar in the desert. Monte Bristo. Is that for the Bastion or the Market by the Sea? I don't understand the context. Okay. Located at an oasis. Okay. Monte Bristo. At the base of a mountain. That is actually the sand covered form of a sandworm. Dragony type thing. So, located at an oasis at the base of a desert mountain that is actually the sand-covered form of a sandworm. Dead or alive worm? That's a good question. I think a hibernating worm? That kind of gives us the best of both worlds. Hibernating worm. This is also a trading post. There's many travelers. What kind of rumors are here? Okay, go do the thing, Patrick. Thank you so much for hanging out and for all your help today. That's totally awesome. I think I'll probably wrap up in the next 5 minutes or so. That'll have been a 3-hour session for us today, which is pretty awesome. Something of the Jinn? Okay, cool. Maybe the owner of this place is a Jinn. Oh? An exploratory group of Jinn have been seen surveying the desert. They're from the plane of fire. A water weird has taken up residence in the oasis and has been attacking camels. And the spice vendor is also selling human drugs, opium, etc. All right, that's our rumors. NPCs. There is a sand hag. Cat done coffee. That's the cervets, isn't it? Cervet cats? We're gonna do something else. Sand hag trader with cat dung coffee. Will trade for a memory. Won't give her name. Desert spider drider. Who sells bolts of finely woven silk suitable for enchanting. Name is no. Rezik. And on way to capital to offer his wares to the Summer Queen. A group of sentient / sapient cactus, like the Borg, that ooze spines contain a powerful stimulant, ecstasy. I don't know. Maybe a sphinx. Sphinx with a riddle. A sphinx with a riddle. Reward for getting it right is a token that lets them past another sphinx without answering. And now I will have to look up a riddle. I cover cities and destroy mountains. Make men blind, but help them see. What am I? Sand. Perfect. All right, my dears. I think that shall be us for today. It is a little after 3 hours. This is lots of time. I feel content with what we've gotten accomplished today and more prepared for tomorrow. And yeah, thank you. This has been awesome. This has been awesome. All right. Who all is still here? Patrick, I think you're still here. Aaron, I think you're still here. Call the map done? Yeah, I think I'm going to. Yes, you are not wrong about that. Laura, I think you're still here. And it looks like there's one more, but I'm not completely sure who it is. So whoever you are, Lurker, thank you for hanging out. Super grateful that you guys decided to come and spend time with me today. I will stream again next week and probably Thursday, probably also Friday. We'll see how the week goes. I have some hardcore work to do on my Patreon map for this month, so I may end up streaming more than twice next week, just depending on how good I am at getting myself to focus. So anyways, I'll post to Facebook when I go live, and that way you guys will know if you want to come hang out. And in the meantime, I am going to go. So you guys have a good one. Take care of yourselves. Oh, hi, Gary. Sorry, yeah, just ending. Thank you for waving. You guys have a good day. You have a great weekend too, Erin. Bye, everybody.